Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. What I'm going to do today is talk about finishing needles. In the last few videos that I've done, I've talked about finishing needles, and I thought it would be a good idea to show you, the finishing needles and maybe explain some of the features of them versus the tapestry needles that probably everyone has used at some point in time. So I'm going to explain the features. These are the finishing needles. I get them from Amazon, and they're by Susan Bates. They come 5 in a pack. I got these back in 2023, so I don't have the packaging now. But on the packaging, it indicates the weight of the yarn that corresponds with the different needles. I don't necessarily go by that. I use whatever finishing needle that I choose to use to weave on my ends. And what's so good about them, they're plastic. The ends of them are so pointed, very easy to maneuver through the yarn. Now, these are the needles that tapestry needles that I was using in the past. You know, the metal one and the big eye there. And then this is plastic with a smaller eye. But ever since I've had these finishing needles, I have not used any other needle to weave in my ends. Now, one thing about using these is when you put your yarn through it, it's no stress on the yarn. You just open it up and bam, it goes right through. Now, when you're using the metal tapestry needle, you're going to pull it through. There's no flexibility. This is metal, and you're pulling it through. And it will put a little bit of stress on the yarn. Okay. The other feature it has, it can handle very short pieces when weaving in the end. And I have a sample that I'm going to show you in just a moment where I have did some weaving with both of the needles, both types of needles. So you put that through, and if it's a very short piece of yarn, it's very easy to just bring it through and then continue on, because even with this short piece, you can continue to weave in no matter how short it is. You're not going to have that flexibility with the metal needles or with this harder tapestry needle. Okay, now what I have done, this end, let me get some of this out of the way. Now these are, like I said, Susan Bates finishing needles, and you get them on Amazon. They're $6.42 the last time I checked. Now what I like to do, this is 4-weight yarn. What I like to do is use somewhat of a smaller finishing needle. I can't remember which one she suggests on the packaging you use with 4-weight. Quite naturally, this is for bulky yarn. That's bulky yarn. And I think this is maybe cotton. Like I said, I don't have the packaging. And this could be for 4-weight, but I use this one a lot, the light blue. Now what I have done is I took this in and I weaved it all the way through behind the stitches. Hopefully you can see that. I weaved it behind the stitches. But what I do is when I get ready to cut off the yarn, I will start splitting the thread, the yarn. And what I mean by that, I'm giving you an example of what I mean. I will literally split the yarn. I won't go behind the yarn. I will split it. And you can kind of see that there. You see it. Let's see here. You can see where I split that. And on this side too, it's split, if you can see that. So what I did was through here, I just went in the back loops here, the back stitches. I didn't split. But when I got here, I think starting here, I started splitting the yarn. Okay, you can see that. Hopefully you can see that. Where I started splitting the yarn and put my yarn through it, and then that way I will cut it off, and I am ensured that my yarn end is embedded actually in the yarn fibers, and that secures it more than just taking this type of needle and going through like this. That's good. That's how most people learn. That's how I learn. But now I know better, and I will split the yarn and embed the end there, and then I will cut it off. Okay. Now on this, I used this tapestry needle to weave in the end. I started here. I went all the way through the back stitches. And when I got here, I can see very clearly where I started splitting the yarn to embed it into the yarn fibers. You can see it very clearly. And the reason why is that this point is a very blunt point, and it's not as easy to split the yarn. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to put these two together. Yeah, okay. Here, this is the metal tapestry needle, and you can see it very good now. I went all the way back in the back stitches here, no splitting. I started splitting there, and I can clearly see where I did the splitting. Over here, I used the finishing needle, started here, went in the back, no splitting, and I started splitting here. Right in here is where I started splitting, and you can see the difference between the two needles. To me, this is more obvious, and there's more stress on the yarn using the metal needle when you're weaving in the ends. Not so much here. Started here, started splitting in here, and it's not as noticeable, and it's less stress on the needle. Okay, let me see. I got my notes. I want to make sure I explained everything. Again, I'll put the link, the Amazon link, in the description box. They're by Susan Bates, and they come 5 in a pack, and they're $6.42 the last time that I checked. And I think that I've explained it, and hopefully you can see the difference. And if this has been beneficial to you, purchase some. I haven't turned back yet. I purchased these in 23, and I've been using them ever since. Hope you find this information something that you could use, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.